All right, everybody. I want to thank everybody for coming out. This is the Freedom and Future Rally down in West Melbourne, Florida. We have some very special guests tonight. But first, my name is Nathan Slusher. I am the chair of the Libertarian Party of Brevard County. And tonight we are here to celebrate two guys who are running for us. So, without further ado, I'm going to jump right into it. I want everybody here to give a warm round of applause and a lot of noise for the one and only Mr. Mike Termont!
That's terrific. Thanks for coming out tonight. There's a couple of guys I want to talk to you about. They're so important. I'm going to wait a couple minutes before I talk to you about them. That's how important they are. I got to work up the guts to figure out exactly what I want to say about these two guys, because they're very, very important to me. They ought to be important to you, too, because they're libertarians. Does everyone know what a libertarian is? How many people can spell libertarian? I want to see how that goes. I see some youngsters in the crowd. I also saw some of you adults not hold up your hand. I totally respect that. I ran for local office myself a couple years ago in Brevard County. Can everyone spell Brevard? Maybe. In Brevard County, I actually don't know which direction I'm pointing, toward Brevard County. My wife Nancy is here with me tonight. She knows what it's like to run for local office. There is no higher calling than to run as a libertarian for local office. Yes, you're pointing for me to go in a certain direction. You want me to stand over here? Stand in the spot. I got it. All right, thank you. I appreciate that. When you run for local office, you've got very important people telling you where to stand, and that's really a good thing. Because libertarianism is a team sport, we just believe that you should be making decisions on your own. Personally, one of the things that has really motivated me over the past couple of years is the idea that our federal government does not respect your right to make decisions on your own. Of course, I'm talking about the COVID regime of just a couple of years ago. This is a very important subject for me to talk to you about today because my wife Nancy is here. How many folks here resent the idea of the federal government telling you whether or not you should take a vaccine? Now, you should be able to take a vaccine if you want one, and you should have the right to keep your job and decide not to take the vaccine if you don't want one. Personally, I make my decisions the same way I believe every American married man should. My wife tells me what to do. And I can tell you I personally resent the idea of the federal government asserting that it is as smart as Nancy is, because it is absolutely untrue by a factor of 100. All right, I finally worked up the guts to tell you about one of the two guys I want to talk to you about. There's a fellow named Josh Lavka who chairs our party in the state of Florida. He's got a fundraiser on Sunday in Brevard County. If anyone can make it down to Brevard County, we're going to have at the Moose Lodge, 6 o'clock in Tamarack, a fundraiser for Josh Lavka because he's a buddy of mine and a great, great libertarian. I still haven't worked up the guts yet to tell you about the second guy I want to talk to you about, but I'm going to do that in just a moment. Libertarianism is so important. There is no higher calling than running as a libertarian for local office. Here's why. You're going to do it because you love to spread the message. You do it with absolutely no hope of becoming famous. You do it without any hope of financial remuneration. In certain districts, you do it with absolutely no hope of winning. You do it because you love to stand in the Walmart parking lot for hours and pass out literature. You love to see how many doors you can knock on before going to an orthopedic surgeon. You love to come to events like this, and this actually happened. You probably think that I'm good at making up material. No, I just remember things. You like to come to events like this and have conversations like the one I just had with Ty. By the way, you guys have a great vice chair here, the vice chairman of Brevard County, Ty. Ty and my wife Nancy and I just had a very lovely 10-minute debate about which are the cleanest bathrooms at truck stops in northern Florida. This is a very important conversation. If you're going to run for office, you've got to have this figured out. You've got to have a lot of things figured out that you wish you didn't have to have figured out. Which sneakers to wear, right? Am I right? Running for local office is nothing but hard work, and you do it only for the idea of spreading the message of libertarianism. Remember, the reason you're doing this is not for you. It's not for me. It's not for the other people that are gathered here today. By the way, thank you for coming out. This is actually the largest group I've ever seen, which is really terrific. This is more people than Trump had at his inauguration, and I'm really impressed by that. The biggest crowd ever. I'm going to go with 800, 900,000, close to 1 million people have gathered here today. We're going to turn the cameras around later, and you're going to see that. It's a very impressive crowd, and I'm just glad that we have the police force out here to protect us from overrunning some of our local institutions that have let us down. When you run as a libertarian, you do it because you're representing people who are not here today. You're doing it because you're representing those that we call brothers and sisters for no other reason than they are fellow Americans. People who among us are the least able to resist the power of the federal government or our state government or our local government. People who are so often trapped in poverty, trapped in what I call persistent intergenerational poverty because of bad public policy. People who are reliant on our public schools and don't have the opportunity to go to a competitive school system. They have to go to the monopolized local public school system. People who are trapped by the world's most oppressive criminal justice system. I know what I'm talking about. I spent most of the last 13 years as a cop. Until 2 years ago, I worked as a cop in Brevard County. Again, I'm not sure which direction Brevard County is, but just in case it's that way, Ty is either pointing that way because that's where Brevard County is or that's where the bathroom is. I worked as a cop in Brevard County for 11 and a half years, and I can tell you, if you weren't an economist, as I was, before becoming a cop will make you an economist because you see the results of bad public policy up close and personal. The world's most oppressive criminal justice system laid on top of an insanely counterproductive war on drugs undermines families, undermines individuals' lives, careers, undermines entire communities. These are the types of people who are trapped by bad public policy that we're out here fighting for. It's not about me, it's not about Ty, it's not about Josh, who I already told you about. It's not about any of us. It's about people who need us to represent them, even if they've never heard of libertarianism and can't spell it. There's someone else I finally have the guts to tell you about. Before I do, let me point out there's some signage up here because it's excellent signage. We've got a poster up here for Grover Bentley. He's the best looking guy who's going to be on this stage today, so I hope you're excited. We've got another sign over here. Vote for our dad. No, not my dad. For Grover's kid's dad, okay? You get that? Grover's about to come up here and he's going to talk to you, and I want you to give him your ear because Grover's a very important guy. Not only is he one of these guys who's running for local office as a libertarian, no higher calling. But he does it because he's got a background in actually caring about human beings, actually caring about fellow Americans. This is a guy he grew up watching his dad, blue collar, driving a truck in coal country, Kentucky. This is a guy, 101st Airborne, okay? You guys know what that means? If you don't know what that means, that's okay. You know how to spell 101st? Good, I like that. 101st Airborne. This guy knows whereby which he speaks, okay? Big time libertarian, you know how important that is to me. It should be important to you too. Everyone knows what HOAs are, right? All right, how many, show of hands, how many people can spell HOA? Good, excellent. I saw a couple adults in the back. Meet me afterwards, we'll go over that. For those of you who cannot spell HOA, we're gonna have a little tutorial. Big on reforming HOAs. I can tell you as a police officer myself, HOAs are tougher than the places where the 101st Airborne goes, okay? They need, trust me, they need reform. Big time reform is coming when Grover gets elected. Grover's also, you already know where the next joke is going, so you might as well start laughing now. Grover's big time on reforming DCF. You ready? How many people can spell DCF? Everyone can spell DCF? Excellent. Ma'am? We'll talk after. I know you didn't hold up your hand. We're going to talk about how to spell DCF. Big time needs reform. As a police officer, I can tell you, tougher than when the 101st Airborne goes, arguably tougher than the HOA. And speaking of people who deserve our protection, you know this. DCF needs to be reformed for the most vulnerable among us. Am I right? All right. Grover's going to come up and talk to you about his reform ideas. He's going to talk to you about being a libertarian. He's going to talk about his race. I want you to put your hands together for the most important guy to be on this stage today of all time. I want all 1 million people, and I want to hear you. This is Grover Bentley.
Stand in the right spot.
First things first, let's keep this thing going. Alright, guys. So, I have a speech. First time giving a speech, so if I mess up, I'm just going to tell y'all how it is. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank y'all for coming over tonight to the Freedom of Future Rally, and I would also like to thank special guest and presidential candidate, Mike Tamai.
Yay! Second best good-looking guy on the stage today.
I'd also like to thank my family for being here today. Thank you guys. It's great to have y'all over. Because without their support, I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be running for office. But who am I? Why am I running for office? Let me give you a brief introduction, even though Mike already gave you a small one. My name's Grover Bentley. I'm 38 years old, 39 tomorrow. I have a wife, 2 kids, as you can see. They gave me that beautiful sign. They go to school right here in Palm Bay, Pineapple Cove Academy. I'm a project manager for Osceola School District. I'm also a veteran of the United States Army, 101st Airborne Division, and I deployed to Afghanistan in support of Operation Enduring Freedom with the 1st and the 506th, 4th and 320th Field Artillery. It was the horrors of war that got me into the freedom movement. But I wasn't sure where I belonged. I realized early on that the tenets of my belief didn't belong with one of the 2 main political parties, Republican or Democrat. I aligned pretty well with both of them. I held a lot of Republican beliefs. I had quite a bit of Democrat beliefs. My wife, though, brought to my attention a meme that's online. Let me read it to you. I believe that the married interracial gay couple across the street should be able to adopt their child and protect their family and their wheat plants with automatic weapons while drinking milk they purchased directly from the farmer at the farmer's market.
Yeah.
There's a lot down back there. I'll give you a second. I came to realize at the end of the day, freedom wasn't about a set of rigid belief structures that defines a person or their beliefs. Freedom is the ability of a person to do as they see fit, to better themselves, to better their family by their own sweat and hard work. It's about following the non-aggression principle, not being a pacifist, but learning where to apply the non-aggression principle and the principles of freedom so that way they best work within the confines of civilized society. We see almost daily people crying freedom for this or freedom for that, while taking that same freedom away from other people. We've seen that here in Florida. We've seen our freedoms slashed in the name of other so-called freedoms. I have had to answer questions from my little girls about what certain things mean, when I personally had no idea what they were talking about. I had to learn it myself. I'm sure the parents in the crowd can attest to this. Some of the questions that your kids ask, they don't make any sense, do they? Sadly, I believe that we've fallen away from the fundamentals of freedom here in Florida. We have allowed ourselves to be ruled by big business and lawyers for far too long. Our last representative, Randy Fine, was a gambling industry executive. Is that an accurate representation of who we are in District 33? I don't think so. According to the Tampa Bay Times, I'm going to have some figures and statistics here for y'all. In 2018, there was 154 legislators. A full half were lawyers and CEOs. None of them were office workers like me. There were only 5 in sales jobs, like insurance or real estate. Thankfully though, Randy Fine has termed out. What we have to worry about though are the 6 other people who are currently running for Randy Fine's seat. That's the very same seat that I'm here today to humbly ask for your vote to fill. These 6 other people, most of whom currently do not have addresses in District 33, all fall into the same above category: executives or career politicians. We have one whose address is in Gainesville. Another one is in Satellite Beach, and yet another is in Merritt Island. These people don't want to represent you. These people only want to represent their own interests. They want to continue the facade of freedom and degrading the value of our community by forcing you, my friends, my neighbors, my family, into the very same two-party system that no longer works for Floridians and, frankly, doesn't work for the majority of Americans anymore. According to campaign finance reports, half of those candidates already have over $100,000 in the campaign accounts. These numbers can be verified through votebrevard.gov. So many of us have issues putting food on the table for our kids and our pets. So many of us have issues paying for gas to get to work and back. So many of us have issues with making sure our bills are paid, or that we even have insurance to pay for our kids' braces, or, God forbid, if they break an arm or something. We don't need someone who doesn't know the problems that we have in our district running our district or our state. We need someone who identifies with the population that they're chosen to represent. Guys, our economy is currently in shambles. But no one wants to tell you that. I will. I have no problem telling you the truth. No matter how inconvenient or how bad it happens to be. The truth shines a light, and lies will come out eventually. I am one of the most transparent candidates you will ever meet. I will tell you about my past, and I will tell you, yes, I have made mistakes, but who hasn't? Let me back up a little bit though. It may appear as if I'm railing against executives or the rich, but that couldn't be further from the truth. I respect the hard work and dedication that these industrialists have to put forth and go where they want to go, be what they want to be. I admire hard work, perseverance, and the drive to get better and to make more money. Without that drive, I would still be living in a dirt floor house in eastern Kentucky, digging in the coal mines. Now, There's nothing wrong with that. But it wasn't where I personally wanted to be in my life. The ability to improve your life and that of your families by climbing up the socioeconomic ladder is inherent to everything American. But there has to be equality. Not equality of outcome, as some people say, but your ability to try. People shouldn't get to the top and shut the doors behind them. The big business executives who are running for the two major parties are those types of people. They get to the top and close the doors for everyone except their friends. As it's been for decades. Executives get those big corporate donors who form the big super PACs to help them get elected, and then put legislation in place that cripples your ability to make money and to climb those very same ladders that they climbed themselves. That's wrong in my opinion. It may be that I'm reading Ayn Rand too much though. I'm on my third go through of Atlas Shrugged currently. And one quote struck me while I was writing this speech. There may be some sort of justification for the savage societies in which a man has to expect that enemies could murder him at any moment and had to defend himself as best he could. But there can be no justification for a society in which a man is expected to manufacture the weapons for his own murderers. Essentially, a man being forced to build, knowingly, the method of his own demise, and then being forced to sell that method, knowingly, to the very people who have already advocated for his demise and downfall. That's not freedom. That's slavery with conditions. Freedom, ladies and gentlemen, isn't about a strict belief structure, but the ability of a man to proceed along the path of his life, unaccosted by others, while not accosting others himself. Freedom is about an individual understanding that if they oppress another individual, then they are morally wrong. Freedom is understanding that the "don't tread on me" flag means that while we won't accost others, we won't allow other people to accost us. That is the true meaning of government. To adhere to these principles when freedom is a journey for the individual. There are no other politicians out there right now who will tell you that this is the purpose of government. So many fall on the side of anarchy or authoritarianism or fascism. The purpose of government is to ensure that your rights are protected. That not currently the way the government works. I know. I say to myself all the time, that's the perfect libertarian society. In the perfect libertarian society that we all sit here and think about, that interracial gay couple can protect their adopted child in weed plants with automatic weapons. That's not where we are. We live here, in the real world. That requires real solutions to real problems that may or may not line up with the principles of freedom, because the laws that are currently on books that prevent certain things like that from happening. You have laws right now that prevent men from dressing as women. You have laws saying that you have to associate with people you don't want to associate with. And if you don't want to associate with them, you lose your property. We have an entire agency of officials who point guns at people and steal their livelihoods for no crime other than the color of their skin or the economic outlook of their lives. But it's not all doom and gloom. It's not. The future is bright though. You have the ability to change this. You have the ability to speak out and be heard. You have the ability to spread my campaign to the farthest reaches of District 33. From right here in West Melbourne to Indian River County. From Osceola County that way, all the way to the Atlantic in the east. I'm not going to lie to you though. This fight is hard, and every battle is going to be hard fought and hard won. We will lose some, but we'll win some too. I may not be able to advance the agenda of freedom because some may believe that freedom represents something different for them, and that's okay. We should understand that our neighbors may not be ready to hear the song of freedom, but we shall sing that song anyway. We shall sing the song, and we shall continue to tell them about freedom-loving candidates like myself and Mike Jamai. When they ask what we stand for, tell them without hesitation and with conviction, freedom. Let them understand that freedom is the most essential and most important thing out of any candidacy, both in the state of Florida and in the country as a whole. We may not be able to make that libertarian utopia I spoke about in my lifetime or yours. But those who fight for freedom are hardly the ones who experience it. It is our children and our grandchildren that experience the freedom we fight for. The future of our district, our state, our country, and our very world is what is at stake here. There are wars across the globe going on that we have no business being in, but we're there. There are bases overseas we shouldn't be in, but we're there. And I'm sorry, I love everyone. But our children and our homes need to come first before we send aid to other countries. However, to give credit where credit is due, Florida doesn't allow foreign countries to own land in the state. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. We, as Floridians, as Americans, need to stand up and say enough. Enough with the mainstream political hacks that we are forced to choose from. Enough with the same anti-freedom right that says you can't love who you want to love or be with who you want to be with. Enough with the same anti-freedom left who says that you can't worship the God that you choose to believe in. Let me fight for you in Tallahassee. Send me to Tallahassee, and I won't waste your time doing the cha-cha slide on the chamber floor. Send me to Tallahassee and show everyone else in Florida that freedom doesn't have to be some lofty idea that we can't get to. It's already here, and it's ready to see the light of day. The future is bright in District 33, ladies and gentlemen. We only need to seize that opportunity. Also, ladies and gentlemen, if you direct your attention to my right, we have a table set up. If you're in District 33, please feel free to go over and sign a petition for my campaign. We also have literature and business cards. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you just heard freedom, you heard libertarianism, and you heard Grover Bentley. Give it up for Grover. I gotta be honest, that blew back the hair on the top of my head, and I'm just sorry that I'll never be able to do the same for him. I thought that was absolutely on point. I'm just glad that I was here today. I want everyone to think about everything that Grover said, all about the weird rules that we have in this country. There are rules about what you can do with your money. There are rules about what you can do online. And I'm here to tell you that you can go online, you can go to groverbentley.com. You'd have to spell it right. You'd have to go to groverbentley.com, and there is a rule that says on government property, I can't tell you what to do there. What you do when you get to groverbentley.com is up to you. If anything comes to mind about what you should do at groverbentley.com, I want you to go with that gut feeling. Go with whatever comes to mind or falls out of your pocket. You do what you want to do at groverbentley.com, because the message is valuable, but it ain't free. He's going to be out here working as hard as he can. It's up to us to support that message. I'm going to bring back Nate right now. He's going to close us up, button us down. This has been a great event. Nate, thanks for bringing us all together.
All right, everybody, let's give another round of applause for the two gentlemen who spoke tonight, Mr. Grover Bentley and Mr. Mike Tremack. And if anybody is catching this and just logging in, this is the Libertarian Party of Brevard County out here on the Space Coast. And I want everyone to know that you can go to lpbrevard.org to learn more. You can go to lpbrevard.org/events to see everything we've got coming up. You can check out our meetings, you can check out our socials, you can see what all is happening. So please follow us, and please come to our next event and check out both these guys, because you don't want to miss what's going to happen in the next year with these two. One last time, we're going to give a big round of applause for Mr. Grover Bentley and Mr. Mike Tremack, everybody. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening.